Hi everyone, I'm Shania, and I'd like to welcome you to the Hardcore 4 server. This modded server has a version of Left 4 Dead that brings a unique hardcore twist to it, or should I say, a hardcore twist. Now, our server just doesn't recreate Left 4 Dead, it adds a whole new level of intensity and fun challenges. And I'd like to dive into all those details later. But for now, I want to just cover the basics, since this intro is kind of gonna be long. So, the Hardcore 4 server and its games, which is we also know as the HardA server or HardA games, is mostly designed for the veteran players, many of whom are part of the Hardcore 4 Steam group. Just so you know, you'll hear me use this term harder a lot throughout this video series. Anyway, the server creator, Violent Streak, or VS as his gaming buddies call him, has kindly asked me to showcase the HardA server, especially for those of you who are newer players. So, if you're new to all this, you'll find that our server offers a variety of Left 4 Dead challenges. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just a casual player, we've got 4 gameplay modes to choose from, but I'll go over those modes later in the series. So, stick around and explore them as we progress through the video. Back in April 2023, VS made a significant update to the HardA server to offer you a fresh gameplay experience. The aim was to gently introduce new players to HardA games, letting you explore different gameplay difficulties. It's just like how you would start with light weights when you're working out in the gym, and you gradually move up to the heavier weights over time. And you can begin with the easiest levels and work your way up to the more challenging ones over time. Now, the new public game mode that VS introduced is like the entry point to lifting weights. It's similar to starting with those weights, helping you develop your skills over time to strive to be your best. So, before we dive deeper, there's something important that VS asked me to mention here. First off, success in HardA games isn't just about having excellent playing skills. It's also about strong teamwork, having excellent situational awareness, and being steadfast in your vigilance. So as a new HardA player, you need to understand the importance of working together as a team to overcome all these challenges. So for VS, the real joy of playing HardA games comes from the team's cooperative efforts. The satisfaction comes from knowing that every player has each other's back, especially under extreme fighting conditions. The real achievement isn't about winning the highest scores, point scoring, but winning as a team. And it's a core belief for VS and also many other HardA members who played the server to think this way. So, on this server, you'll experience gameplay that demands teamwork, strategy, and resilience. But don't worry, I'll guide you through the basics to get you started, and you'll learn about the different difficulty modes and how to interact with our helper bots. And when you first join, the game will be set to Public Advanced Mode, which is a great way to ease yourself into the action. And you can also vote for Public Expert Mode if you're ready for more of a challenge. You can vote to add extra survivor bots at the start of each round, especially if you're playing solo or with just another player. So, at the beginning of the game, we have our help menu, or what we call a glance menu that will pop up with the essential commands. And you can access this menu anytime by just typing help or info in chat, or just double tapping the tab key to access it. There are free gameplay instruction menus that you can also cycle through using the tab key, in addition to that, we also have at the beginning of the game the what we call the vote menu for the helper bots that will also appear, and that will let you choose to include the survivor helper bots or not. Hi, my name is Shania, and welcome to part 2 in this video series of the Hardcore 4 server. Today I'm going to talk about HardA's special gameplay mechanics. So let's start. On the HardA server, players can carry 2 primary weapons. This allows us to carry both a close range and a long range weapon. A feature not available in the actual vanilla game, but a valuable one to have in HardA games. So, to equip a second primary weapon, pick up your initial weapon, then double tap the 1 key to pick up the second one, and then switching between them is also quite simple. Just double tap the 1 key again. Some players might prefer to adjust their keyboard or mouse settings for enabling this double tap functionality. I myself prefer to use my middle mouse button to perform this action. In HardA games, the ammo cap carry capacity is larger for all weapons, which is particularly useful given the heavy infestations players will face in the game. Together with the large backpack ammo supply, all weapon magazines or clip ammo sizes are also 50% larger than in the vanilla game, which makes a significant difference for shotgun users, effectively halving their reload times. The HardA shotgun comes with an optional fast reload feature. After you've used up half the bullets in your magazine, a special white blink icon will appear above your gun's reticle, prompting you to use the quick reload function. This increases your reload speed by about 40%, giving you a significant advantage. While you can keep shooting without using it, taking advantage of the blinking prompt will reload your shotgun so much faster. So keep an eye out for that blink icon. It's a handy perk to keep your shotgun firing much more efficiently. So while I think of it, and all weapons also have laser sights, so you can switch that on with the L command. And it toggles, so you can use the L command to toggle it on or off. So that applies to all weapons as well. Okay, now let's talk about the M16 rifle. In addition to this, the M16 rifle offers more versatility with 3 firing modes. It uses automatic, burst, and single shot. You can switch between these modes using the walk key, giving you more control over your firing choices. Another key feature of the M16 rifle in HardA games is its virtual scope, which works similar to the hunting rifle's scope. When activated, both these scopes trigger a 2-second damage boost, allowing for one-shot kills on the hunter or the boomer or the smoker. But this requires quick finger reflexes to get the best from one-shot kills. This is especially useful for picking off distant threats like a hunter penning down a teammate. These scopes helps you make those crucial long-range kills when you need to quickly save your teammate. However, keep in mind that the damage booster doesn't affect witches, tanks, or zombies, though a single headshot can still take down zombies without using damage boost. Anyway, one other perk in HardA games worth mentioning here is the enhanced performance of pistols. They are much more accurate and powerful compared to their vanilla counterpart. For example, if you're incapacitated and lying on the ground, you can still shoot your pistol, but with precision to better help protect your teammates, such as shooting a smoker's tongue to free an ensnared teammate. In the vanilla game, pistols are less effective in such situations because the aiming mechanics use a haphazard swing motion, which makes it difficult to shoot accurately while lying on the ground. Whilst we're still on the subject of guns, it's also worth noting that Tier 2 weapons are really essential in HardA games. When you're up against huge swarms of infected, Tier 1 guns simply aren't powerful enough. They just can't handle the heavy infestations that you'll be facing. And the other thing about Tier 2 weapons firearms is that you can usually acquire them through Kill Rewards, which is usually a loot drop from one of the infected. And once you've got them, the nice thing is you get to keep them for the entire game. This means also that if you die and you respawn it or rescue closet, they'll be available for you at that respawn point. And also when the next map transition comes, they'll be available on the new map. So owning these powerful weapons is very, very crucial for making it to end game, especially for the HardA games. And that, I think, brings us to the end of my conversation. Now we'll move next onto sticky pipe bombs in part 2.2. Okay, let's play with some pipe bombs. Now, there are two types of pipe bomb. There's the fling type and the sticky pipe. And the fling pipe bombs, as we already know, are thrown and have a 6-second fuse, making them great for attracting zombies for a big group kill. But with sticky pipe bombs, on the other hand, they have a shorter 2-second fuse. In HardA games, we are used to stick directly onto witches and tanks. They deal way more damage than the fling pipe bombs deck do, so be careful when you use these sticky pipes. Okay, let's show some examples of using the sticky bomb now. Basically, when you use one, you just hold it and press the shove key to attach it to the witch or the tank with just melee shove. When you're close to them, be sure to move away quickly though, as the explosion can incapacitate you or kill others nearby, whether it's survivors or other types of infected. I'm going to show you here with just a few examples when to use them in a good situation and when to use them in a bad situation. So, okay, this first example is more of a precarious situation, but it works. Now I'm playing this all on advanced settings right now. If the bots get it, if I was playing this on expert, the bots wouldn't be incapacitated, be dead, so this would have been a bad effort. This one here I just demonstrated. Even though it got pipe on a witch, the bot would have still died. Here we got another situation where the bot becomes incapacitated. If that had been expert, he would have been dead. So again, I would have failed in protecting a teammate there. Alright, same example where Francis would have been killed on expert. On advanced, the pipe bomb killed Francis. And now, this is a good example of how to put a pipe on a witcher in that this is on expert. Alright, this would be good. Let's see, she's gonna come for me. She's trying to come for me. And there we go, I successfully got the pipe on her and killed her. Nice one.
That sounds like a witch.
Another situation, this one doesn't work well for me. Now if I was on expert, I'd be instant killed here. She's just incapped me on advanced. But hunted. Then the explosion killed me that time. Right, this one's a bit more interesting here. I can take the witch at using an explosion from the propane can. and nicely attach her. That would work out well on expert. Perfect. Next example, I missed time using the sticky, and it still would have killed Francis if it had been on expert, so she still managed to get him. And this is a classic example of the witch getting killed before hitting the bar, so that worked out well. Okay, next up, let's show some examples using the sticky poke bomb on the tank, and again this will be good and bad examples, as I'm going to demonstrate here. One thing to note with using a sticky pipe on a tank is it's very, very risky and it's best done by an experienced player. Once the bomb is attached, it's always a good idea to retreat immediately, otherwise the tank will just go into berserk mode and quickly chase after you. And it's always best to attach the bomb when the tank is distracted, such as when it's throwing a rock or climbing a wall. Also, avoid using it on a tank that's chasing another teammate, as it will continue to focus its rage, attacking them alone. Here's a good example of me getting a pipe on a tank as it's thrown rock, even though it takes some damage. HardA sticky bombs are designed to inflict severe damage on our tanks, and although one can kill a witch with one swipe, one of these can reduce a tank's health by 50%. I should also mention that stickies are no longer being used on hunters, boomers, or smokers. VS recently removed this feature for those specials to prevent accidental damage to survivors, where hoarding a pipe bomb and using melee attacks could unintentionally kill the player when they were trapped by both specials and zombies in close quarter combat. So basically, in a nutshell, using sticky pipe bombs effectively takes practice. So be prepared to take the risk if you find yourself in its explosion, though if you feel they're too dangerous to use, in the virtual sense of course, just avoid using them altogether. Leave it to only the brave players to use them, or the foolish ones, if they don't know the risks involved. Anyway, that's all there is to cover really on sticky pipe bombs, so we shall move on to part 2.3, which is about the WTF Bomb. Hi, and welcome to part 2.3. We're going to talk about the WTF bomb. We all know that shooting propane or oxygen bottles can cause huge explosions. Well, in HardA games, we've taken it up a notch with the WTF bomb. The name comes from a funny moment when a player saw the massive damage it caused and exclaimed, "What the fuck was that?" And that name just stuck with VS when he first heard it mentioned, and that's how the WTF bomb became named. So, this weapon of mass destruction is built to deliver some serious damage. The WTF bomb is excellent for taking out tanks and witches, and it can wipe out both special and common infected within its blast radius. It also works very much like the pipe bomb does for attracting Roman or hordes of zombies. But to use it, one needs to be strategic. So coordinating a mass kill on multiple tanks isn't easy, but when you do nail it, it's an incredibly satisfying feeling. Just remember this, it can also hurt or even incapacitate or kill your own teammates, so be careful with it and make sure to coordinate with the other players before using it. To use it in game, All one has to do to arm the bomb, you just pick it up, grab it, and press the shove button repeatedly until the timer is set to 5 seconds as we can see being demonstrated in the video. Then you drop it at your feet and press the use plus shove key to start a countdown. And once it's ticking, move quickly to a safe distance. About 5 bunny hops away from the blast zone is good enough. Avoid hiding behind large, movable objects like cars or containers, as they can become dangerous projectiles in themselves. If you can't run away from it in time, seek cover behind something immovable, like run into a nearby room or get yourself behind some solid wall, anything to help reduce the blast impact on yourself. Alright, up to this point, we've mainly focused on killing tanks, but I'll now demonstrate a quick example of taking down a witch with it too. Also, just a reminder, if you find yourself in the blast under the bomb, you can disable it by either picking it up or shooting it from a distance. It's crucial to use the WTF bomb responsibly. Never use it to harm your own team. If a public player misuses the WTF bomb to kill teammates, then HardA members should vote kick the offender from the server, and that will impose a temporary 3-hour ban. Be sure to report the incident to any admin after the game so that a permanent ban will be applied to that offender too. In short, use the WTF bomb wisely. And when it is available to use, it can be a powerful tool in your arsenal, especially for dealing with multiple tanks. Okay, this concludes my talk on the WTF bomb in this video. Next, I will move on to the ping scanner in part 2.4.
Bill.
Okay, let's talk about the ping scanner. Now, this tool is a game changer and it's exclusive to HardA games. The ping scanner is used for spotting items hidden from you and distances up to half a click away. We just hit the F key and the ping scanner lights up all items with a bright fluorescent white halo for about 15 seconds. But the pills and medkits have a blue and a red beam tag, which makes them easier to spot among all the glowing items around. This is especially handy for quick locating pills as we use pills a lot on HardA, as players receive much more damage from the infected, so pinpointing pills is crucial to us at all times. So with the ping scanner, you can easily find ammo, medical supplies, weapons, and even those elusive gas bottles that are perfect for a WTF bomb to take down multiple tanks. Personally, I think the ping scanner is an incredibly useful tool that's going to enhance your HardA gameplay experience significantly. Okay then, that's all we can really talk about on the ping scanner, so we'll move to the next part in the video showcase and we'll talk about the X-ray specs. Okay, X-ray specs using X-ray vision to find hidden infected. Now these virtual glasses, worn in game in the imaginary sense, allows players to see special infected with a fluorescent glow when they're concealed from view. Now this provides the player with the chance to quickly evaluate risky situations and better prepare the team for what kinds of attacks they may encounter ahead. So in this example, I'm sending the bots ahead to use them as bait so I can protect them. So I've made an assessment on this situation just by looking at it through the X-ray specs in advance. Again, I'm gonna put the X-ray specs on here as well, just to see what's going on beyond that wall briefly. If we can just do that now. There, we can tweak some specials beyond the wall. So, while these X-ray specs are intended to help players navigate areas that are heavily infested, it should be noted that while wearing these glasses, the player's uncharacter bot and the other bots will remain perfectly still in the crouched position. As a result, the player's X-ray viewpoint also remains stationary at the same look position as the crouched bot until the player exits. To use the command in-game is just a question of type in XR or X-ray specs. So in conclusion, X-ray specs will give players a fresh view of the game world and better insight into potential risks. Whether we're venturing into very dark alleyways or dense woodland areas, these glasses can help us stay on top of our game. And that's about it really, that covers X-ray vision. So we shall move on to the next part, where we will briefly cover night vision. Okay, gonna be about night vision now. This one's pretty straightforward, but it's another great feature to have in HardA games. Now we can use night vision, mostly in very dark areas, dark rooms, outside, at night, anywhere that needs it really. And to activate it, you just use the check command, NV, or you can just double tap the F key. And that about covers night vision. So I shall move on to part 2.7 now, about spot markers. This is another useful feature. These markers are helpful for pointing out spots on the map that are relevant to all the players, like marking a location or providing important information. For example, you might use a ring marker to highlight a witch hidden in a woodland area where she's obscured by trees or bushes. So, to use the spot marker ring, point a gun reticle at the ground, then press the tab plus jump keys together to create the ring marker, or alternatively you can use the chat command SM. The ring marker stays on screen for about 20 seconds. Now, if you want to use the arrow marker instead, just press the use plus tap keys together. Now while the arrow marker isn't on a timer like the ring marker, you can toggle this one on and off manually. And that's about it, really, for spot markers. Next we'll go on to part 2.8 and talk about the HardA boost jumping. Boost jumping is a blast in HardA games. It literally does take your gameplay to new heights, it really does. To use it, just double tap the jump key quickly, and you'll leap 2 to 3 times higher than the standard jump. But you'll need speedy finger reflexes, as they are key to reaching those greater heights. Boost jumping is perfect for climbing high fences, climbing tall vehicles, or reaching tricky spots like rooftops, just by using multiple boost jumps. So boost jumping opens up a whole new world of possibilities and tactical advantages. Violent Streak suggests that players should use boost jumping mainly during a round restart rather than at the start of the first round. This is because boost jumping can be exploited if used improperly, so it's best to stick to the normal route at the beginning of the round to get the most out of the map's route as designed for the game. However, If your team gets wiped out, no problem. Use the next round to experiment with boost jumping and try to find shortcuts to bypass parts of the map to progress faster. In this way, it adds a new layer of strategy and makes the game more fun and interesting in a more dynamic way. Boost jumping is also great when you're stuck or backed into a corner. For instance, in the vanilla game, if you hit a point of no return on one of the campaign maps, like dropping through a manhole where you can't get back up, that's not an issue in HardA games, as boost jumping lets you bypass the point of no return and backtrack to a previous location. So, if you're cornered by multiple tanks, after passing a point of no return, boost jumping can help you escape and pass that point of no return to reposition yourself to a safer place. Okay, that brings us to the end of that part, so we'll move on to part 2.9 and self-revive. Okay, let's talk about self-revive when incapacitated. Next time you find yourself down, whether you're sprawled, incapacitated on the ground, or hanging off a ledge, you'll have the chance to revive yourself after a 1-minute wait time. This wait time helps maintain the game's cooperative spirit by giving your teammates a chance to assist you first, whilst also providing a lifeline if the team is overwhelmed by multiple tanks or if the survivor bots are just too busy fighting the infected. And it's especially handy if you accidentally incapacitate yourself from excessive boost jumping and your teammates can't reach you for some unknown reason.
Someone help! Thanks. I owe ya.
Ready?
Guys, I need some help. Help! Thanks. God damn it, I'm down.
Okay then, I think that more or less brings us to the end of that. So we might as well move along to part 2.10 about collecting and swapping inventory items. Stay tuned.
Zoe.
Okay, right, here we are. In part 2.10, collecting and swapping inventory items with players or bots survivors.
There's a
And
bomb here.
in this demonstration, we're just gonna do it with the bot because I don't have another player to film this with. So, basically in HardA games, survivor bots aren't just tagging along as our shooting buddies. They're actually pretty handy for collecting and managing inventory items too. So, if we're running low on supplies, these bots will automatically grab items like health kits, pills or grenades and pass them to us. They're also great at picking up lootable stuff that we might easily overlook. It's very much like having a personal assistant right in the middle of the battle action.
This looks dangerous.
For later.
VS likes to call our bot buddies handbags, because they're great at handing us stuff out of their bag just when we need it. And mostly, obviously, when we're fighting. Bots will automatically give stuff or exchange stuff with us, but when you want to exchange stuff with another player, a lot of players don't always realize this, but you need to be facing each other twisted together with both of you holding the item you want to exchange with each other. And then press your reload key You don't have to do it simultaneously, one or the other player can do it to make the exchange. So that's basically how it works between players, so it has to be done obviously manually, but with the bots, it's done automatically.
I'm grabbing a Molotov.
We have this other command for dropping stuff as well, so basically, if we just need to drop something on the ground, we just use the check command, drop. And that's what we need to do for that, very simple.
First aid kit here.
Gonna need these.
Another thing worth mentioning about swapping items with players or bots is that at one time we used to have the swapping mechanism on just the shove key, but it became problematic because 9 times out of 10, if you were together in a group and you were meleeing, say, a horde away from you, you might get out your Molotov and go to throw it, and instead of throwing it, you'd end up, as you were shoving the zombies away, you would end up handing your pipe or your molly to your teammate or bot. So that became problematic. So VS moved it from the melee shove to the reload key because it was much more practical and it stopped players from accidentally giving stuff to each other. So that's how that works now. Anyway, this is the great thing about having this swapping out of items. This feature enables that everyone on team is prepped and ready for whatever happens when we start playing the actual game itself. And that's about it really. I think that covers more or less everything I need to talk about swapping items and collecting items.
Dangerous.
Grabbing a Molotov.
Okay, that really concludes it for all of the part 2 of the series up to now. So we shall move on to the next part 3, which covers Kill Rewards.
Time to start some fires.
Okay, let's talk about Hunter Skeeting Kill Rewards. When a player manages to pull off a successful skeet kill, they'll get a surplus kill reward, which not only includes a loot drop, but also a loot stash. First up, the Skeeter Shooter is awarded a full health boost, which is the stash, plus the Hunter will drop a medkit. And the whole team will be gifted pills, which will get stashed away into their inventories. Now, achieving a skeet kill in HardA games isn't easy. For it to count, a few things need to happen. The Hunter must be at full health during its airborne pounce, and it must not take any collateral damage from fire, explosions, or from partial gunshot wounds. Neither player will get the skeet kill or its reward. It has to be a solo one-shot kill with no help from others. Let's talk about Crowning the Witch Kill Rewards. In HardA games, the witch won't drop any kill rewards unless she's properly crowned. This can only happen on expert difficulty. On advanced, crowning isn't as precise. You could shoot her in the chest and the game was still counted as a crown. But on expert, when you land that perfect headshot, the rewards are worth it. The witch will drop a medkit and a WTF bomb. Plus, there's a stash reward that tops up the entire team's backpack ammo supply. Okay, let's talk about tank kill rewards. When it comes to taking down tanks, the loot drops are pretty straightforward. Every time you kill a tank, it drops the same kill rewards. So, the tank will drop one medkit, a few pills, and a throwable item, either a pipe bomb or a Molotov. And because tanks are such a formidable foe, we deserve such a nice big loot drop from them, don't we? And that brings us to the end of Tank Kill Rewards, and I shall now move on to part 3.4, about kill rewards for the smoker, boomer, and hunter.
Oh, this looks dangerous.
I'm on a pipe.
Hunter!
Okay. This section is also quite straightforward. In HardA games, the kill reward system for smokers, boomers, and hunters is simple. Each defeated special infected has a chance to drop random loot, which would be either a pipe bomb, a Molotov, or pills. There's also a 1% chance of them dropping a tier 2 weapon. So that about sums up this part. So let's move on to part 4 in the series. So, in HardA games, it's crucial to use pills regularly to maintain agility and strength, while reserving medkits for emergency use only. Regular use of pills helps prevent critical states, enabling you to better assist your teammates. By keeping your health consistently boosted, each survivor becomes more effective in supporting the team. Moreover, using pills for minor healing reduces the likelihood of nearing death, decreasing the reliance on medkits for urgent healing. Pills are much more common in HardA games, often dropped as loot from killed special infected. This should always be your first choice when your health is low, as they manage partial damage more effectively than any medkit. Save your medkit for critical situations, such as when you're near the comatose death state, i.e. that's when the player experiences the monochrome vision, or known also as the black and white vision. So, as we can see demonstrated in the video here, you can see that pills work differently on the HardA server, and it's crucial to remember this. HardA pills provide temporary health that depletes more slowly than in the vanilla game. If you take a lot of damage, this temporary health depletes first, preserving your full health for longer. In the vanilla game, however, this effect is reversed. Damage impacts your full health first, even if you have temporary health. Think of pills as a mini medkit booster. If you've lost even just 20% of your HP, make sure to use pills, especially if there are extra pills freely available and the rest of the team have their own supply. Now we shall move on to part 4.2. Okay then, let's talk about medkit healing and medkit CPR. In HardA games, medkits should not be used for patch healing minor injuries. Instead, they should be reserved for critical situations, such as when a player is bordering on the comatose death state or is critically injured and has no pills available. Medkit healing HardA games is significantly faster when compared to the vanilla game. While the vanilla game takes 5 seconds to heal, HardA games reduces this time to just a mere 2 seconds. This heal speed is crucial because HardA gameplay is so intense and fast-paced. Medkits in HardA games aren't just for healing though, they can also be used for CPR, resuscitation. If a survivor goes down and is in a critical death-like state, what we call the comatose death state. Another player can use a medkit to revive them. Revive time is only 10 seconds. There's a 90-second grace period to resuscitate a comatose survivor before they permanently die. Should the survivor die within this 90-second grace period, then the team will need to use a rescue closet to respawn that survivor back into the gang.
Help, people! Help!
How bad?
Now, let's talk about
Up we
quick revival of incapacitated teammates. In HardA games, getting an incapacitated teammate
Can you make
back
it?
on their feet quickly is crucial. When one of us goes down, the special infected will immediately target the remaining able-bodied survivors. Unlike the 5-second revival time in the vanilla game, HardA games reduce this time to just a mere 2 seconds, allowing players to rejoin the fight faster and improving the team's chances of survival. This works very similar to the way the medkit healing speed works. On the HardA server, rescue closets stay locked until a survivor's died and is ready to respawn. This setup prevents anyone from accidentally or intentionally opening the door before it's time. So closets only become accessible when someone is actually inside, ready to respawn. You could tell if a door is locked or unlocked by looking at the handle. If it's glowing red, the door is locked, but if it's green, it's unlocked.
I didn't sign up
This
for
color
this shit.
coded system is really helpful, especially in custom campaigns where it lets you know exactly where the closets are, which is great if you're not familiar with the map.
Oh God, I can't believe it.
On HardA, rescue closets stay locked for 90 seconds, as opposed to the standard 60 seconds in the vanilla game. This extra time gives team members a chance to perform CPR and keep the closet locked while trying to revive a comatose survivor.
Not Bill!
I owe you one.
If there's no medkit available for CPR, players can use the member-only chat command, SS, to immediately release a dead survivor from the nearest closet. Okay, I just want to recap a situation where I was trying to save a survivor with CPR, but I was too late. I ran out of time. So in the video here, we have the 90-second grace period expires. So I had to use the rescue closet to bring the bot back into the game. This happens just as the timer runs out, the bot actually respawns, which is exactly how it should work.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay, just before we wrap up this final part and move on to part 5 in the series, I want to just quickly discuss the rescue closets and a situation on the map called the point of no return. So another point to mention about this with rescue closets and CPR is knowing when to use each one in their proper way. Sometimes it's just better to go for the rescue closet instead of performing CPR. So for example, in this part of the film we're looking at, if a player dies before you reach a major point of no return on the map, it is more efficient to use the nearest rescue closet. This way you can save the medkit for later use and just use this closet here to respawn the player, as it cannot be used once we pass the point of no return. Okay, now I shall move on to part 5 in this series.
Thanks.
We might need these.
Okay. Now, I briefly covered helper bots in part 1 of this video series, but I want to delve a bit more into how survivor helper bots work. So, at the start of each new round, players have the option to vote on whether to include or exclude a helper bot or two. In this example, I'm going to vote to keep the helper bot. You're going to have to excuse me for a moment in this part of the film, because I'm going to have to become a team killer to demonstrate how the respawn of the bots work, so just bear with me on this, please. Now, remember, helper bots are optional. Players can always choose to play with a team of 4, 5, or 6. Additionally, there's an helper bots user interface menu that dynamically displays the status of both players and bots when a survivor's status changes from alive to comatose or killed. This feature is particularly useful, especially since the default user interface display is set for 4 survivors. So, for the first round, we had 1 helper bot. Now, once the team is wiped out and the first round fails, we can now opt for 2 additional helper bots for the second round. Now, should all subsequent rounds fail, a maximum of 2 additional helper bots will be added. That ensures that the team size does not exceed the 6 survivors total. This approach helps maintain game balance and strengthens the team during replays.
Help over here! I need somebody! Help me! I'm here.
Okay, up to now, I've included the helper bots on round 1 and 2, and on this third round, I'm going to now exclude them. Okay, so now we just have a team of 4. And that concludes really everything we need to discuss on the helper bots. So I shall now move on to the next part. Okay, so if you're playing the server solo, just with the bots alone, it's useful to know how to keep manual control of them. This can be done using 2 chat commands. First one, bot lead, and the second one, bot stay. So with the bot stay command, or we can type BS, the abbreviated form for it. This command instructs the bots to stay crouched in a specific spot for 25 seconds before they can move again. It's great for temporary defensive holdouts and setting up a quick defense. Additionally, there's the bot stay 2 command or BS2 command, which keeps the bots in place indefinitely. This is ideal for intense finales where you need the bots to remain stationary and not run around all over the place. Remember, the bot stay 2 command is a manual toggle and functions as an on-off switch. Okay, with the bot lead command, or in its abbreviated form BL, this command allows you to toggle whether the bots lead the way or follow you. By default, bots will follow you. However, using bot lead for the first time will make the bots move ahead of you. This is especially useful for tasks like climbing ladders or drawing the infected's attention to the bots, letting you provide cover from a strategic position behind them. Keep in mind that the bots will automatically revert to following you after 40 seconds if the command is not manually used to bring them back to your position. Okay, I'm just gonna showcase some different scenarios of how this works with the bot lead and the bot stay commands in different situations. So I'm gonna speed the film up just a little bit here so we can move through this quite quickly. So, in this part of the video, I'm using the botster and the bot league commands interchangeably, so solo players can make better use of these features. It's always a good idea to bind these commands to a key for quick access rather than typing them out in chat.
Behind you!
Okay, so this brings us to the end of this part, and so we shall move on to the next part. Part 5.3, that will cover the swap bot menu. So, okay. Now, the swap bot menu lets you switch to your favorite bot after your survivor has died, assuming there's an active bot still in the game. However, there are a few conditions. You can only use this feature if there are at least 2 survivor bots alive in the game. If there are 3 players currently active in the game, you won't be able to use the swap bot menu at all. In that case, you'll need to wait patiently until you're rescued from the closet or hope that a teammate can revive your comatose survivor with CPR. For instance, if my favorite character to play is Zoe, and if Zoe is killed by zombies, I will be left waiting to respawn at the next rescue closet. It might even be a while before my teammates can release me. However, if my teammates are in dire trouble, I may have the option to re-enter the game and lend a hand. I could choose to switch to another active bot, such as Bill, by using the command Bill. Then, upon rejoining the game as Bill, the swap bot menu will automatically appear, giving me the option to continue playing as Zoe. If I choose to, when I select Zoe from the swap menu, she will replace Bill, and Bill will be sent to the rescue closet as the dead bot until he can respawn later. This swapping out process helps to maintain balance by keeping the gameplay fair. So, how do HardA survivor bots stack up against the vanilla game bots? Vanilla bots often struggle on most modded servers because they're built for the standard game. To improve their performance, VS developed a custom bot plugin that tweaks their behavior to fit HardA's intense gameplay. This makes the HardA survivor bots far more effective than the original ones. For a deeper dive into this, I recommend checking out the HardA group discussion forum and reading VS's post titled Buffed Up Bots, as it's too much to cover in this part of the video series. And that really more or less concludes this part 5 of the video series, so we shall now move on to part 6. Let's talk about the HardA tanks, cause we do have a lot of them. Firstly, we have the tank duo, and we call them Hank and Frank. These two are twins, and are also known on the server as the Terrible Twosome. Right? So here's what you need to know about them. Hank and Frank always attack as a pair together. Their combined health totals are at 17,600. And as a duo, they can be great at flanking and catching players off guard, mostly when the team least expect it. So when these two arrive, and they can arrive in from 2 different directions at the same time. So staying on the move is crucial when they turn up. Also, they don't take any damage inflicted on them from fire, such as molotovs, and can climb ladders and drain pipes without being hindered by a player. So don't even bother to try and block their path, it just won't work. Okay, I'm just gonna share a few examples of how you can't block a tank on drain pipes and on ladders. So there's a few examples just here. Whilst I think about it, something else I should mention. Since November 2019, the HardA tanks now spawn on all Chapter 1 maps in every campaign, unlike the vanilla game where they only appeared in Crash Course and The Sacrifice. So our tanks will spawn on all first maps, including custom campaigns. When you're using regular gunfire to take the tanks down, try to throw in a WTF bomb if you've got one, or maybe even a sticky bomb. But be careful, using a sticky bomb will send them into a frenzy and they'll charge you with serious speed. If they catch up, you could end up getting killed by your own pipe bomb. So use it wisely and make sure to keep out of their path when they're enraged.
Grab some first aid. Wait up, this will only take a second. First aid.
Pipe bomb. Grab it.
But hang on, it doesn't stop there. It can get even tougher. Quite often, Hank and Frank invite a few of their friends along too. And when they come together, they form the Formidable Foursome. These 4 tanks, also known as Hank and Frank and Friends, have a whopping combined HP of 35,200. Now, while Hank and Frank usually show up as a pair, when all 4 are around, they mix things up into different combos. Sometimes, They arrive as a duo, or a trio, or even the whole gang at once, or they might arrive one by one. This makes their attack combos even more intense, so the whole team needs to stay alert and be at their fighting best, using all the firepower and tactics they've got to take down these 4 big bad bosses. And just when you thought it was all over, the HardA server might just roll the dice and send in the surprise tanks as well. But don't worry, these tanks usually show up later in the map, right after you've already taken down the first 4. So any one map can have anywhere between 4 to 8 tanks in total. So make good use of the WTF Bomb if it's available, and be sure to use a few sticky pipe bombs when you can, especially if 4 of them start flanking the whole team into a tight corner.
You're welcome.
So yeah, HardA games can be unpredictable as hell. So always stay on your toes and be ready for more action when you're least expecting. Okay, let's see how this situation pans out before we finally move on to part 7. There's something familiar about this. I feel like I'm having a moment of deja vu. I'm being flanked by another tank again. Or was it the same tank I saw earlier in the video? Let's just speed this part up a little bit. Okay, now I shall move on to part 7 about HardA membership and its perks. Up until now, everything I've discussed in this video has focused on the new player experience. However, it's important to note that Hardcore 4 primarily caters, first and foremost, to its members, though we do allow public players the freedom to play the server when it's empty. And sometimes, these players can get to play alongside some of our members too. So, if you're interested in becoming a member, having a positive interaction with existing HardA members is vital. If you wish to join our group, to apply for a membership, please post a request on our forum. It's an image here of the Hardcore 4 group, and you can see a link showing where to post to within the forum. Please note, membership approval isn't immediate. So, new players must be vetted by an elder member, and it may take a few game sessions before your request is sanctioned by a HardA elder or an administrator. The more you play on the server, the sooner you may become a member. Before applying for membership, it's important to familiarize yourself with our Hardcore 4 guidelines and the special gameplay instructions, which can be found on our Steam group forum. But much of this information has already been covered in this video series here. While experienced players may find most of it straightforward, new and eligible players should still take note of the finer details to ensure a complete understanding of the Hardcore 4 guidelines. So, in the remainder of this video series, I would next delve into the membership perks and provide an in-depth explanation on the intricacies of HardA's gameplay mechanics, particularly the extreme difficulties that await those unfamiliar with this aspect of what HardA games are truly all about. So, as a HardA member, there are some really awesome perks. So, number one, members can use exclusive console chat commands and a unique menu system to control different aspects of the game. Non-members don't have access to these features. A special command key is needed to use these features in-game, but don't worry, a link to the command appears in chat at the start of each new map. Just keep an eye out for that link, and then you can use that link to get you to the group forum to find the command key. Members have the ability to control the difficulty levels using the DCM interface, meaning non-members can't change it themselves. More details on how the DCM works will be covered in Part 7.2, but keep in mind that this feature doesn't apply to public game mode. Public players can still change the difficulty when no members are playing on the server. When members are on the server, they can control the in-game voting system, allowing it to be locked or unlocked for everyone. This enables players to vote on such actions as changing the campaign, restarting it, returning to the Steam lobby, or even kicking non-member players. Public players can't vote unless a member enables it through the DCM interface. However, in public game mode, the DCM is off by default, so public players can still use the voting system during that mode. Space for friends or other members? No problem. Members can remove non-members from the server whenever necessary. Members always get priority over public players. Members can add or remove survivor helper bots too. This feature is super handy when members feel extra helper bots are needed in the game. But I've already covered helper bots previously in this video series. Members can also control the campaign playlist, allowing changes to campaign maps during the game. Public players can't change maps unless a member gives them permission to do so. Rescue closets stay locked until a survivor respawns after 90 seconds, but members can bypass this using the SS chat command perk, allowing instant respawn at the closet. Non-members can't access this command, as I explained earlier in Part 4.4. Members can control who has access to medkit healing, ensuring public players prioritize pills over misusing medkits for patch healing. I'll demonstrate this in more detail in Part 7.3. The direct control menu is the ultimate membership perk. It lets members control the in-game voting menu and even override public game mode when needed. With the DCM, members can adjust difficulty settings and voting options using this exclusive interface. To use the DCM, members need a special chat command, which is available in the members-only forum at the HardA group. A link to this page is posted in chat when the game first starts, so members can always go back to the forum through the link if they forget how to use the key. Before using it, it's important to make sure new members know how the DCM works. So, I'm going to show you some examples with it now. The DCM offers 3 difficulty levels: Advanced, Expert, and Extreme Expert. We don't use normal or easy modes on our server. By default, the game stays on Expert during map transitions unless it's in public game mode, where it's set to Advanced by default. The DCM locks the in-game voting menus to protect member privileges and prevent non-members from kicking a member off the server. To explain this a bit more, if members need to unlock the voting system for things like restarting the map, returning to the lobby, changing the map, or kicking a player, they just need to press the DCM4 key. This will temporarily unlock the voting menu for 15 seconds, allowing the action to be completed before the system automatically relocks. Aside from public game mode providing helper bots by default, members can override the settings to add or remove bots through the DCM interface using keys 5 and 6. I'll show you how this works in the video. In fact, you can add more bots if you like, just as I've done here with a total of 8. Right, I added those by pressing key 5. Now I'm going to remove them by pressing key 6. Ow, we're just back to 4 survivors. On a final note here, it's really important that new members must never share their DCM chat command key with non-members, even if they're your gaming friends. If a member is caught giving their key to a non-member, both players will be time banned from the server by VS, and sometimes indefinitely. And this concludes this part in the video series, so we shall now move on to the next part.
Quit moving, I'll heal you. Thanks, man.
Controlled Medkit Healing is an exclusive members perk and uses the chat command AMH.
Are you ready?
So, why is it on the server? Well, when members are playing with the public players, it allows members to lock medkit healing mainly to stop public players from misusing their medkit. We introduced this controlled healing system in HardA games to help encourage new public players, especially those unfamiliar with our server, to rely more on using pills for patch healing.
Ready, guys?
Pills are easier to obtain as a kill reward in our games, so it makes pills the first choice for treating minor injuries. The idea behind locking medkits is to teach new players that medkits should only be used in emergencies, like when a survivor's health drops below 35, and where they don't perhaps have pills to hand, or they're close to the coma death state, i.e. the player's vision turns monochrome when that happens. If those two conditions aren't met, players will receive a message explaining why they can't use their medkit, as I'm demonstrating here in this video. You can see that information being displayed on screen. Okay, let's move on to the next part, which is part 7.4. I've already mentioned a map changer under the HardA membership perks earlier in the video, but I'd like to cover this topic in a bit more detail. This feature is exclusively for members and not available to the public. This restriction prevents public players from forcing a map change while members are on the server. If public players want to change a map, they can only do so using the in-game voting system in public game mode. The map changing menu is quite useful, especially since the first set of maps shows all individual, official campaign maps, allowing you to jump between them randomly if you so choose. However, with the custom campaign list, you can only start from the first map of each campaign. Currently, we have around 62 custom maps available on the server, and members can use the special chat command called maps to access them directly. Now, let's move on to part 7.5. Okay then. This is another HardA membership perk available in the Help menu under Members Only commands. As I briefly covered under the Help menu section earlier in the video. Sometimes the server needs a restart due to a misbehaving plugin or some latency issue that can usually occur during long gaming sessions. If you notice any strange behavior in the game, then just use the restart server command to reboot the server. This command will send everyone back to the game lobby.
We ready?
After issuing the command, wait about 30 seconds for the server to complete its reboot. You'll then be able to resume right where you left off on the last map. Restarting the server usually fixes most issues and helps keep the game running smoothly.
Come on, let's do it.
So, this is another HardA membership perk, exclusively available as a feature in our games. Now, playing a particularly troublesome HardA map on Extreme Expert mode can be extremely challenging at times, and teams may encounter a specific area where they struggle to progress due to repeatedly dying at the same location. This can happen frequently on custom campaigns with maps that are very long. This kind of situation can be very frustrating for players. To avoid replaying the same sections of the map, the team has the option to use the HardA save point system to teleport to the location where the last survivor died. This teleport feature, similar to the progress marker save point system typically used in single-player games, can be activated using the chat command TPL at the restart of the chapter round. Before doing so, though, players must unanimously agree to use the teleport command. Aside from this, some players may consider the HardA save point system as an exploit. However, its primary purpose is to enable the team to swiftly advance to the most challenging part of the map again, without needing to revisit previously successfully completed sections. Alright, so let's move on to the final part, part 7.7, which is another perk for HardA members to have fun with, called Super Bunny Helping. So, Stay tuned. Okay then. These are the last two HardA member perks that can be enjoyed on the HardA server. Super bunny hopping and low gravity. Both of these are optional features and add a unique twist to the HardA gameplay. These Turksine features go beyond the usual HardA games. With Super Bunny Hopping, it's all about bouncing around with incredible speed. It's perfect for large open maps like Crash Course or custom maps with wide outdoor spaces like the Silent Hill campaign. You'll be hopping around in super ways you never imagined possible. Then there's low gravity games, which are just as entertaining. You can choose from 4 different gravity settings, ranging from moonwalking to nearly zero gravity. Not only will you feel weightless, but the special infected will too. So tanks and hunters begin to fly through the air as they chase after you, and it makes for some truly wild and unpredictable gameplay. And Super Bunny Hoppin' can also be combined with the 4 different low gravity settings, offering even more gameplay fun. So, there you have it. Anyway, that wraps up all of part 7 in this series. Now, I'll move on to part 8. The HardA group elders decided to phase out in-game stats and third-party statistic trackers in order to prioritize teamwork over individual scoring. In June 2019, VS removed the stat screens from the game because players were becoming too focused on personal points, often at the expense of their teammates' safety. Since then, there's been a major shift from chasing individual scores to focusing on cooperative teamwork. This change has greatly improved the overall gameplay experience, especially for those playing on extreme expert difficulty. To succeed in our games, always support your teammates, and they'll recognize you as a winner for how well you protect them. And that's what truly matters in HardA games. Now, I shall move on to part 8.2 about ShadowPlay. So, what is ShadowPlay? Veteran HardA members often tackle extreme expert difficulty using a technique called ShadowPlay, which enhances team protection and effectiveness on the toughest maps with the highest number of infected. ShadowPlay involves 3 key elements. 1. Stick together. All players must stay in close proximity to each other. In ShadowPlay, the goal is to constantly move within the shadows of the other players. This teamwork improves melee combat effectiveness and offers better defense against hunters and smokers. While weapons are useful at a distance, melee is often more effective in tight spaces. 2. Plan your moves. Players need to agree on the next camping spot before advancing. Clear communication ensures the team navigates safely through heavily infested areas, reducing the risk of getting separated by sudden attacks from the infected. Also, spot markers, as I had talked about earlier in this video series, are useful for pinpointing a new camping location for the team to head to. 3. Use voice chat. Seasoned players use voice chat instead of typing in the chat window. This helps avoid distractions and lowers the risk of taking damage from the infected. Okay, I shall now move on to the final part in this series, Part 9. Alright, we're nearly at the end of this video series. This final section dives into the more nuanced and complex side of HardA gameplay. So, while it might not appeal to every player, if you're a bit of a gaming geek who loves understanding the nitty-gritty of gameplay mechanics, then this one's for you. The HardA server offers 4 special difficulty modes: Advanced, Expert, Extreme Expert, and Public Game Mode, which includes Public Advanced and Expert difficulties. Easy and normal difficulties are disabled on the HardA server. Why? Well, this is a hardcore server after all. By default, Public Game Mode is set to Public Advanced difficulty when a game starts from the Steam lobby. Public players can still vote to switch to Expert using the in-game voting system if they so choose. Compared to the DCM experience, Public Game Mode offers a lighter, more accessible version of hardcore gameplay. If you're a new HardA member, though, you can override the Public Game Mode at any time using the member's DCM interface, as we've already covered earlier on in this video series. This offers even more gameplay options than the Public Game Mode. Once the DCM interface is active, the in-game voting system is disabled, giving members exclusive control over the game's difficulty. The DCM interface offers the toughest hardcore challenges, and these modes are on a different level compared to the Public Game Mode. For example, the Extreme Expert Mode, or EEM as it's abbreviated, is unique to the HardA server. It significantly increases the number of special infected and their spawn rate, making it a true test for even the most seasoned players. As one veteran HardA member once said, "Extreme Expert games are purposefully designed to test the mettle of any person that dare consider themselves an elite player." In my view, that quote really sums up EEM. For me, it's all about pushing even the elite players to their absolute limits. Right? So let's break it down further. Each difficulty mode on the HardA server has a different spawn system, making the experience distinct for each mode. For comparison, here are the differences in infected spawn rates. Extreme Expert Mode. The infected spawn at the highest number and fastest rate. Standard Expert Mode. Spawning is 15% lower than EEM. Advanced Mode. Spawning is 20% lower than EEM. These three difficulty modes are part of the DCM system, while Public Game Mode, which is separate to the DCM system, has spawning 35% lower than EEM, and that includes 4 expert and advanced difficulties. The public game mode offers a softer, hardcore experience with fewer spawns when compared with Survivor Helper bots. The difficulty is reduced even further. Ironically, this can make the public game mode easier than the DCM's advanced setting, where the spawn rate is higher. While this might seem counterintuitive from a member's perspective, it makes sense from the public player's side, since they don't have access to the DCM interface to see how difficulty modes are adjusted. Now, let's talk about how the damage system works on the server. In terms of health and hit points, most rules are similar to the vanilla game, but there are some key differences on the HardA server to suit specific gameplay mechanics. So, for example, the HardA pistol is more accurate over longer distances and has a damage rating similar to the Magnum in the Left 4 Dead sequel game. Tier 1 and Tier 2 weapons have firepower that is unchanged from the vanilla game. Friendly fire mirrors the vanilla game's damage values, but in HardA, the player who shoots by mistake receives the damage instead of the innocent player. However, this mirror rule doesn't apply to NPC survivor bots. They still take the friendly fire damage. Tank health is set at 8,800 HP across all difficulties. Hunters have slightly lower hit points than in the vanilla game, since they spawn more frequently on HardA. This reduction speeds up kill time, allowing for more frequent hunter spawns. And that's about it, basically. So that wraps up the final part of this series. It's been a fun one to make, and I hope it encourages new players to dive into HardA games and enjoy everything we've got to offer. It's also an open invitation for skilled players to join our community and unlock exclusive member perks. I'm Shania, and thank you for watching. Oh, and one last thing. Do you know why our group is called Hardcore 4? Here's a clue. It's on the group's homepage.